I just filmed this entire video already. I went back to listen to it, and there's an echo. I don't even know why there's an echo, but there is an echo. But you know what's not echoing? My mustache. So folks, I'm in a bit of a bad mood right now when I'm filming this video. It's about 9 p.m. on Thursday evening. The Knicks are playing the Bulls, and it's not really going well in the Knicks' favor. It hasn't been the greatest day at the RGT household. I have to spend a lot of money tomorrow on windows, like windows you look out of, because evidently you got to have nice modern windows or something like that. But that's not what I'm frustrated with. I'm frustrated with this company called Nintendo and the way that they're handling the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, mostly on the N64 side of things, because it's a joke. Like, it's an absolute joke at this point in time, the way that they've handled it up until now, the way that it's been executed. And it's a shame, because I feel like this should have been a surefire thing. Now, looking back at what we got originally with the NES and the Super NES, like, this was good stuff. You know, when the NES came out, we got a huge dump of games, and then we got a constant trickle of like 3 or 4 games a month for like the first year. Same thing with the Super Nintendo side of things. We got a huge dump of games, and then we got a constant trickle of both NES and Super NES games. Now, of course, over periods of time, the quality of those games was definitely up for debate. You know, some of these games weren't the highest quality titles. And remember, the last Super Nintendo games we got were, I don't know, pretty assy. You know, I think that's a proper term to use with this, assy. But alas, you know, we knew that something else was on the horizon. There had been lots of rumors that more consoles were coming. And lo and behold, we were introduced to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, coming in at a stout $50, whereas the original Nintendo Switch Online was $20. So now that we're talking about $50, you got to kind of start comparing it to the competition, what companies like Sony and Microsoft are doing with their online services. Now, Nintendo, of course, has one of the strongest back catalogs of video games of all time. So when they announced that the N64 and Sega Genesis were coming to this online expansion pack, things were very interesting. People were very excited about this. They had their expectations up, because some of these games from the N64 and Sega Genesis era are great games. You know, let's not get it wrong. We obviously were going to get a huge dump of games at the start of it, much like we saw with the NES and the Super NES. So expectations were high. We got that huge dump of N64 games, and I mean, there were some problems, mostly on the emulation side of things, where, you know, some games worked great, some games not so much, some games worked great online, some games not so much. It was definitely very hit or miss for a lot of people, and there were more misses than hits, which made people very frustrated with this, especially considering we're talking about a $50 thing, a premium price thing. Sega Genesis, of course, was fine though, but nobody was really worried about that. I don't think anyone was worried about the initial batch of N64 and Sega Genesis games, because we knew that there was going to be a lot of them. It was more so, well, what is Nintendo going to do in the future? What are they going to do in the future? Now we're talking about 4 different consoles available on the Nintendo Switch Online service. 2 of them are hidden behind the expansion pack, coming in at a $50 price point, but still, anyone can have access to these if they have the expansion pack. So we're looking at 4 different systems. How often are we going to be getting games? How many games are we going to be getting added into the service? Because people like games. People like a variety of games. People like to sample games. And I was kind of hopeful. And maybe it was just me being naive, but I was kind of hopeful that Nintendo has sort of learned a lesson what they've been doing with the Switch Online service, because one of the biggest complaints about it is, of course, the fact that they just kind of are half-assed with releasing new stuff on here. Well, they sent a big email tonight with a lot of pomp and circumstance. I think that's what it's called. I don't know. The thing, you know, dun 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 dun, Macho Man Randy Savage song, but they sent out an email talking about an addition to the N64 Online expansion pack. And it's a great game. It's a great game, don't get me wrong. Paper Mario for the N64 is indeed coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service on December 10th. And I talk about the Paper Mario game. They even made a nice little trailer for the game, which I'm showing off now. So, you know, that's cool. But, you know, what else is coming? What else are you giving me for the month of December? Obviously, it's a holiday month, you know. I'm sure Nintendo's in the season of giving when it comes to adding in new games to their online service. And guess what, kiddies? As of right now, at least at the time of this email, that is the only game that's mentioned. Paper Mario for the N64. One game across 4 systems, and it's like, this is a joke. This is an absolute joke. And I do not understand why we are getting just one game in the month of December, considering the fact that we didn't get anything in the month of November added to the online service beyond the Animal Crossing crap, which, I mean, if you're an Animal Crossing fan, that's big. Obviously, there are 30 million plus Animal Crossing fans out there, but I'm not an Animal Crossing fan. I don't care about it. You know, I used to play it back on the DS and the GameCube. I enjoyed my time with it then, but I have moved on because the series never really expanded or anything like that. It's pretty much the same thing, except like there's less stuff in the game, like less collectibles and whatnot, but that's really a conversation for another day. Here's the thing about the N64 only getting one game. It's like, maybe we should have seen this coming to some degree, because let's be realistic here. The N64 is an iconic system. There's a lot of great games for it. I would venture to say around 30 to 40 excellent titles that definitely stand out. But when you look at the rest of the N64, I mean, it's a lot of licensed games that obviously are never going to come to the system. It's a lot of sports games that, I mean, nobody's looking to play All-Star Baseball 99 on their N64 online expansion pack because, I mean, they can't. They're old rosters and stuff like that, so it's never going to happen. So it's like, why wouldn't you supplement the fact that you're only doing one N64 game with, I don't know, some NES games, some SNES games, some Sega Genesis games? You know, those systems have a library of at least 700 games. I think there were 782 North American Nintendo Entertainment System, I don't know why I said it that way, but NES releases that came out stateside. And then of course you have import only titles, but God forbid you go in and, you know, you change the languages or anything like that. It's way too much work to be paying for a $50 premium service. No, no, no. Can't do any translations. Just look at North American titles. And there's not 780 something games on the NES online service. There's not over 1,000 Super Nintendo games. There's not over 1,000 Sega Genesis games. And it's like, this is half-assed. This is half-assed. And if I was only paying $20 for it, I could probably let it slide. I could probably let the emulation issue slide. I could probably let little ticky-tacky things slide with this. But the fact that we're paying $50 a year, and yes, you could pay less if you got the family plans and stuff like that. I'm not getting into it. I don't trust people enough to get them on board with something like this, or me giving them my information or something like this. No, I will just pay the $50 because I'm a grown-ass man. And $50 a year is not going to make or break me. However, we do have to compare it to other services out there that are in the same price point. And it's a non-comparison. It's a non-comparison. Like, I am happy that Paper Mario is coming to the system, but Nintendo is just so half-assed and not transparent about their online stuff that it's ridiculous. Because when you look at services like what PlayStation is doing and what Microsoft is doing, you know you're getting games every month. They do free games every month. Now, you could argue about the quality of those games all the time. We just talked about the fact that Godfall yesterday was a demo, but there were other games still coming out beyond just that Godfall demo on PlayStation now. Of course, when you look at things like Xbox, they do the games with gold, and games with gold has kind of sucked for a long time now, but they're still free games. They're still relevant games from like the past generation or the current generation. Whereas with the Nintendo Switch, we're talking about old games that I love, old games that I collect, old games that I probably own, but you can't add in, I mean, just off the top of my head, there are a ton of Super Nintendo games that are not on the service yet. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. Why is that not on there? Because Nickelodeon owns the license. It's a Turtles license. Arcade 1UP is a smaller company than Nintendo. I think if Arcade 1UP can get the license for Turtles, I am pretty damn sure, I am pretty damn confident that Nintendo can get the license to that. Where are the Final Fantasy games? Where is Super Mario RPG? The Sega Genesis, the 10 games that we got, most of those were available on the Sega Genesis Classics collection. Where are the other sort of niche, under the radar games for the Sega Genesis? Some of the shoot 'em ups and stuff like that. The NES, there's still a ton of NES games that are not available on there. Once again, going back to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Can't give me Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game. Can't give me Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, the Manhattan Project. Like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous, and it's half-assed. And yes, am I overreacting a little bit? Probably. Okay, I'm probably being a little overdramatic. I'm probably being a little bit over the top. But the problem is, if you don't say things like this, you become complacent. And when you become complacent, you're never going to see change. You're never going to see things improve. Now, I think people do take it, you know, too far a lot of the time. But with something like this, where you're paying a premium price, where Nintendo is asking you to pay more money for this, I think you're subject to, you know, scrutiny more so when you're doing this, because you're adding this perceived value. You want to improve the value of Nintendo Switch Online service, which is what you say at every shareholders meeting in the world, yet the proof isn't in the pudding yet. You know, we haven't seen any sort of actions beyond just the words. Yes, you've been doing a little bit better game trials. I will give you credit for that. But still, that's another thing that you should be doing at least once a month, because there's over thousands of games available on the Nintendo Switch. It's ridiculous to me, and it really sort of dilutes the value of the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack if we're doing one freaking game. We're doing one N64 game, and that's it. That is all you get. And maybe there will be more stuff, you know? Maybe Nintendo will announce some more stuff, but if they were going to do that, I think they would have alluded to that in the press release. But the fact of the matter is, there's no communication. There's no transparency. There's no sort of indication of when you are going to get stuff and when you're not going to get stuff. It's a big freaking surprise every time. And you know what? Sometimes surprises aren't good. You know, sometimes when you're walking outside and you step in something, surprise, it's a pile of dog shit. That's not a good surprise. And it's just so frustrating. It's just so frustrating, because if Nintendo was more transparent about this and said, these days, every month, you're going to get something new added to the Switch Online service, I think people would be a lot more welcoming. Even if it was just 1 or 2 games, I think they would be a bit more understanding, because their expectations would be kept in line, because they know the dates. They know the dates of when all this is happening. But right now, just having to guess all the time, having to go out there willy-nilly and just assume that games are maybe going to come, and maybe it'll be the game you want, or maybe it'll be just be one game and you don't even want that game. Maybe it'll be like a Sega Pico game for you know, remember that Sega Pico thing that's for the kids? I don't know why I'm talking about Sega Pico. I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated with this, and it's very annoying. But I want to know what you guys think about this. Am I being over dramatic? Which, I mean, I can be over dramatic a time or two on the channel. Or is the N64 Online and the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack in general just a joke? Because I really feel like it's a joke. It's an afterthought. And the fact that Nintendo is charging us $50 for this and really just giving us one game really feels like a slap in the face to me, even though that is a great game. So give me your thoughts and feedback in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share the video as well. Shout outs to my fan, Jamie Hayter from AEW. I learned that my girl, Jamie Hayter, was a fan of RGT. We follow each other on Twitter. What's up? What's up? And as always, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.